name is Towell, Republican, running for Western District Commissioner.
I'm David Nickell, I'm a Republican for Western District Commissioner.
Jack Jones, Republican for Western District Commissioner.
My name is Keith Whiteside. I'm currently the Western District Commissioner running for re-election.
I'm Shannon Jones, and I'm running for Western District Commissioner on the Republican ticket.
Walt Wells, Republican candidate for Western District Commissioner.
Hey, time's up. Just kidding.
There you go. All right. I will again switch back and forth going along there. Mr. Towell, what motivated you to run for office?
Well, I feel that the county needs better management with roads, especially in the Western District. Some people don't realize the Western District has 2/3 of the miles of roads compared to the Eastern District due to all the Forest Service ground and properties like that that have roads running through them, but not much population. And we need a better relationship with our law enforcement between the county commission and the sheriff's department. We have a huge drug problem. We have a huge crime problem. You're a guy that could really attest to that, I'm certain. But we need, like I say, those are the two things that I really see that I feel I could help the county with. I've got 30 years experience running my farm down there that I've built from the ground up by myself, and I've kept it afloat on a shoestring budget, just like Ripley County runs on a shoestring budget, because when I was here 4 years ago, that budget's thin. It does work out, but it just barely does.
Thank you. Mr. Nickell?
What started my motivation to run for commissioner was I think the people of Western District need a better line of communication at the commissioner's office. And you know, once I realized this was something I wanted to do, I went up there, sat in several meetings, and I found out a lot that I think I can help. I got 26 years in the U.S. Army, retired now, and I think I can offer a lot of advice and leadership traits that my 26-year career has brought me.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Jones?
I've also been attending the meetings for the last 6 or 7 months. My motivation behind it was to try to give some leadership back to the community, visibility. My big issue is, or my big goal is visibility of what that commissioner does, and allow the public to be able to have access to that, so that if they do have problems, then they can come back to the right people to make sure that if you have a problem, it's resolved, it's handled. Just to be able to give input back to the community in that sense.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside?
How's everybody tonight?
Good.
Are you sweating? It's getting a little warm in here. The main reason that I enjoy this job and the reason that I got into it, there's several different reasons. One of the main reasons I think going forward would be kind of like Gary had mentioned and some of the others, is we need to make sure that our roads are taken care of. I think the biggest problem is making sure that we get those 19 different road districts combined into one and getting that on the ballot so that the people can actually voice and vote that, so that it's under one management versus 19 different managements. Also, I am passionate about the development and growth of our community. In this position, I've been able to build relationship with not just other commissioners in the state, but build a relationship with state representatives, state Senate, and U.S. congressmen. And building those relationships gives a voice for Ripley County at the state level and the federal level.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon Jones?
Yes, thank you. I'm running solely because I'm a Ripley County resident my whole life. Love the people. Think there's a lot being done that nobody's been held accountable for. I mean, I don't know if everybody lives out in the county and deals with the roads. You know, some people live in town and better places where they don't, but these roads are in disrepair. and some places where they can't even be maintained. They're going to have to be started over from the ground up to fix it. The culverts, the ditching. There's got to be some accountability somewhere. You know, I understand this office can't, you know, maybe hire and fire the elected and the volunteers and this and that, and they got great ideas with combining and getting maybe a supervisor on the Eastern and a supervisor on the Western that we can hold accountable, and somebody we can make sure there's checks and balances at the end of the day. But what we have going on now just simply won't give it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wells?
I decided to run, I'm a fire chief here in the county, have been for the last 8 or 9 years. I'm a first responder. Applied for some money, asked at a council meeting, was told not allocated for us. I was allocated to another fire department, and just in the last 60 days, we finally received our share of that money. As a first responder, I run our gravel roads more than the average person. I've had our gravel roads, tear up a $100,000 truck, shake the dash plumb out of it. You know, our roads are horrible. I work closely with the Sheriff's Department, EMS, Highway Patrol. I've managed the Smith Farm for the last 11 years. I also have my own business. So I think I'm qualified to do this job.
Thank you. So since we're on the topic of roads, we know that they cannot be fixed overnight. However, what do you feel is a long-term solution to this recurring issue, Mr. Wells?
On the roads, it just quit speed grading. Start pulling ditches. When you trim the trees on the side of the road, don't let that stuff fall in the ditches so that the water has nowhere to go but out into the roads. You know, you call and you say something, what do you expect us to do? You talk to Dale. Well, Pointer's got the smallest budget. That doesn't mean that you can do a half job. You know what I'm saying? You agreed that you would do this job. Please do it.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, and I agree with him exactly about our ditches. Whether it's the talent of our grader drivers, if it's the people that know what needs to be done somewhere in the line, down the line, I hold this office responsible for being in charge and overseeing. I know there's only a certain amount you can do with being, you know, over the budget of it, but there's not anybody out there checking to see what got done today or what's going to be done tomorrow. And nothing's going to change unless we can get in there and work together, figure out or have a vote and change the way we're doing it. But it's just simply not working the way it is.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside?
Yes. I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. The roads are atrocious right now. Partly we've had 10 inches of rain in 3 weeks, but that doesn't matter prior to that. But back to consolidating, that to me creates the ability to hold people accountable. That creates the ability to better govern what's going on in each road. I mentioned earlier we've got 19 different road districts, 2 of which have their own road crew, they have their own maintenance crew. They're responsible in their budget to take care of all of that. And 4 of them contract us to take care of grading. They take care of their own maintenance. They're responsible for replacing culverts, those type of things. And then we manage the remaining 13. I believe to fix that, you've got to put it all into one consolidated entity to where it's, like these guys said, you've got to be able to hold people better accountable.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I completely agree with what he said. We have to consolidate the organization, to make it one organization, to make it accountable so that each road district comes back to the district supervisors to get their, I mean, if we're funding those districts, we need to be, they need to be accountable for us and what we want them to be doing, which is doing the roads properly, hiring the right people to make sure that we have full-time employees that are going to be doing those roads year-round, not just like you said. Naylor has a small budget for their little area, so they're not going to do the roads as a full-time organization, where the county could, as a full-time organization, manage those roads throughout all of Ripley County. That's got to be the goal for the roads, and getting the right people in there on that equipment to make sure the roads are being done properly.
Thank you. Mr. Nickell?
Well, first I'd like to say that I believe consolidation eventually will be the answer, part of the answer. There's no 100% answer to the problem. Okay, you can't control the weather. You don't know what's going to happen next week on a road. But I will say that I think a little bit of reorganization within what we have might help. Long-term maintenance, have a crew be able to react. But, you know, of course, you have to prioritize. Some roads don't get passable at all. The bus has got to run. You want to really know how bad the roads are? You ask a bus driver. They'll tell you how the roads are. But consolidation, reorganization, long-term maintenance on these roads is what we really need. And, you know, you need the ability to hold these special districts, especially the ones that have commissioners, their own additional tax, like, you know, where I own land. We need to be able to hold them accountable. And I know, I can tell you right now, if you're a commissioner for one of these special road districts and I've become a commissioner, you're gonna be like my new best friend, especially in the one where I'm at, because I'll be knocking on your door every day and then relaying the information out to the rest of the county, the conversation that we had. And last, you know, the biggest thing is no one knows when the road work's gonna get done. I think at least saying, hey, you know, we're working on this part this week, this part next week, and this is coming up, and this is why. I think relaying that to the people that should be done.
Thank you. Mr. Towell?
Question again, please.
Yes, sir. So we're talking about the roads. We also know they can't be fixed overnight. However, what do you feel is a long-term solution to this recurring issue?
As the others have mentioned, the consolidation really needs to happen. But I can tell folks that until the county commission shows these road districts that the money's going to be used properly, I don't know how we're going to make that consolidation come around. The 2 or 3 road districts that I'm familiar with now, they don't want to turn their money over because they say, oh, you guys just wasted. You know, the county just wasted. I don't really feel that way, but that is how these commissioners feel. So you're going to have a real relationship built between these road districts to get that consolidation moving forward. And yes, the roads are awful. Over east of me, which we've got the quarry there east of me, when I'm running my truck in and out of the quarry, right now, you can't meet a truck. If there's another truck on the road that I'm coming through on, you don't meet, somebody's got to back up because the road is eroded so bad. The ditch has not been maintained. There's 3 foot of road gone on each side. It's a lack of use of better judgment by the operators, and that's going to have to be addressed to where, say, if I was elected, I would have to go out and say, hey guys, you know, look at this. You need a ditch, you need this, you need that, and the operator's going to have to be willing to work with the commissioner. Otherwise, it's just a fight is what it becomes.
Thank you. Mr. Towell, the Ripley County Courthouse is an icon of our county. However, it is in high need of renovations and repairs. What would be the future of this historic building? Do you foresee its ability to be repaired and continually utilized, or do you believe the path forward is through a newly constructed courthouse building?
With the historic part of that building is old, the wiring is substandard. Even though it's been updated, it's still substandard. Honestly, in my opinion, the courthouse needs to be more of a historic site, and the county has some other buildings, and I can't stand here and say, hey, use this building, because it would need to be looked at by someone as far as an engineer or, anyway, a guy with more building knowledge than, let's say, I have, to see if these buildings could be made practical to move the offices into. If nothing else, temporarily, to really bring that courthouse up to a certain standard to prolong its life. But when I was there 4 years ago, we worked on that thing and worked on it and worked on it continually. Different contractors, different things, and it was always something. And it was always, I'll just say it, lipstick and rouge, because the overall structure needs completely gone through once again. It was back in the 70s, I don't remember the exact year, and it's lasted a while, but it needs it again desperately.
Thank you. Mr. Nickell?
You know, I love the courthouse. You know, every time I drive town, it just gives me a good feeling. I'll have to say that. Big picture is that as things keep on going with security, stuff like that, eventually the courthouse will no longer be able to serve the people that it served. You know, I hate to say that, but that's the truth. Problem is there's no money. You know, I said, those of you that get a budget, you should look at the budget. So I don't have an answer to your question other than I would support a new courthouse if there was a way to get the money, and I would support some kind of historic preservation. But once again, in reality, this is where we're at. We got that courthouse. They're going to keep putting Band-Aids on it until something else gets by better, and that's the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Unfortunately, I feel the same way. I love the courthouse. I mean, it's you drive through town, you circle the courthouse. It's beautiful. Everybody hangs out there. It's a beautiful sight. Walking in and out of that courthouse gives you a different feeling. It's not up to standard. It really needs to be either completely renovated or used for something else. What I would love to see would be the museum to be put into that and give that. I mean, it's a 125-year-old building. What better place than put the museum into that building? Unfortunately, then you have to build something or move the courthouse into somewhere else. And again, like we've been saying, it's funding. Like we've said earlier, the census showed that numbers are down, taxes are lower, we don't have as much money as we did before, so it's even going to make it harder to meet the budgets and to do that, unless you could find some kind of a grant, unless we could talk to somebody up in Congress or somewhere to get us funding from the government levels in Jefferson City to help us build something. We're kind of going to have to just continue to work it the way we do.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside?
Repeat the question so I'll make sure I get it right.
Yes, sir. So we're talking about the courthouse. And what do you see, or what would be the future of the historic building? Do you foresee its ability to be repaired and continually utilized, or do you believe the path forward is through a newly constructed courthouse building?
Two-part answer to that question. Short term, you've got a long term and a short term. Long term, I think it would be to the county's best interest to have a new building simply for having enough office space, having enough storage, and operating correctly the way in a safe environment. Like they've mentioned, with the electrical, that we just put 2 new air conditioning units that we've been fighting with for the past 4 or 5 years. So long term, I think our county needs one. Short term is you're going to have to, like he said, lipstick and rouge. You have to do with what the budget can allow you to do at this point in time. The historic part of it, if we did move to another building and had our own building through grants or of that nature, then the courthouse would be opened up to actually apply, be granted grants for the historical factor, whereas with a government entity in it, you're not allowed to get a lot of those monies. If it's turned over, then they're allowed to apply and get larger grants to update that building. So long term, yes, I think that would be a great idea to move into a newer building. Short term is budgetary.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Well, it's nice to repeat the same thing 5 times. So, I mean, you know, it ain't right for everybody to be in there in the summer, hot, and the air ain't working, and it's terrible that our courthouse workers are in their coats in the winter. You know, it comes down to money, as everything does, one way or another. And it's just going to be getting and doing what you can get. But absolutely, in my opinion, we're going to have to figure a way to move forward and get away from the old stuff. No matter how much historical value it has, it's just not going to keep. I mean, it's a 125-year-old building, and it would probably cost as much to fix it and make it up to date as it would to build a new one. It's my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Wells?
It's one of the few buildings in town that when you step out of the city fire station, you smell wires burning, you go to the courthouse. I'm not going to come dead serious. That's a fear of ours. It's a beautiful building, but it's going to get some work to get done. I mean, we're going to have to build a new courthouse. Now, how we fund it is beyond me. But that courthouse is going to get somebody work.
Thank you. Mr. Wells, what are the priorities and goals that you would have concerning this county if you were elected?
First and foremost, our roads. And I don't know, when you tell people this, they look at you like you're crazy. We've got a bad homeless population in this county. When they put it underneath the river, down underneath the bridge, they run a bunch of people out that was home to. When they cleaned up West Donovan behind Luncheon Park, when they tore those old buildings down, there's a lot of people living in those old buildings. You know, we've got a serious problem with homelessness and drug addiction. And I feel that it gets swept underneath the rug.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. What are the priorities or goals that you would have concerning this county if you were elected?
This job comes down to budget, and it comes down to holding people accountable. You know, I mean, the roads, you know, we went over and beat that horse, but, you know, there's just a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people are going to be displeased with every decision. You know, you can't take this office and lightly or have friends done it. You're going to have to make hard decisions and not matter who it hurts. It's got to be for the people and for the greater good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside? Yes, sir. What would be your priorities or goals if you were reelected? What are your priorities or goals that you would have concerning the county if you were reelected?
It's kind of like what he said. We beat the dead horse as far as talking about the roads. I think the roads are very important. The budget, that immediately affects every aspect of the county. So I think that is something that you have to make sure that you're keeping an eye on and holding people accountable and making sure that you're staying on your budget for the entire year. That goes with your roads, that goes with each department. I also think that building relationships with the people that I mentioned earlier gives us an upper hand when it comes to finding funding for different economic developments. I'm actually in a discussion with Congressman Smith's office right now, working on some development over in West Donovan. It's building those relationships and getting funding for that stuff at a higher level.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
The roads and the budget, I mean, are a given. We can't change the census. They're not going to do a census anytime soon. So the only other way for us to get money, which is what we need to help this community, is to look for a way to bring companies in here that want to come into Doniphan or into Ripley County to bring tax dollars in. We need to get more businesses into Ripley County, bring tax dollars, if that's a grocery store, if that's a widget shop, it doesn't matter. We need businesses to come to Ripley County to help us with all of our needs. That tax dollars that they pay in helps fund the roads, and maybe we can get better equipment or whatever it is that we need, you know, to be able to make sure that we're doing the right job and not just doing a part of a job. You know, let's do the jobs right. Let's make sure that we have the funding to fund all the departments so that everybody can do their job. Make sure that everybody's spending their money correctly.
Thank you. Mr. Nickell.
Well, I think my first priority, whether I want it or not, is going to be the complaint department for my constituents that I would represent about the road. That would be my priority as well. Also, you know, advising, you know, when you're a commissioner up there, you're three. You're associate with the main commissioner. You're an advisor. You're basically a 1/3 advisor to the commissioner's office. And my goal is, one of my priorities is establishing a line of communication to me so I can convey what my people that I represent want to see change in. It's roads, it's businesses, it's stuff that we need Ripley County to grow in order for it to be successful.
Thank you. Mr. Towell.
Well, as I said, the roads, they're definitely a priority. Law enforcement, as I said earlier, is a priority. The budget is a huge deal. Now, I heard mentioned a while ago that the budget had been balanced. Well, I also know that we had at least one office go over on their budget, and the county refused to pay at least 2 local vendors, local businesses here in our community that employ local people. And that needs seen to. Everyone needs paid, but the people you deal with daily and you face on the street every day, those bills need paid, regardless. The money's got to come from somewhere and be taken care of, and that would be one thing that I would really stand for, which I did stand for 4 years ago. I want to see those businesses taken care of. And if you don't take care of your local businesses, how are you going to have local businesses and have your tax revenue that will help support your community?
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside, you mentioned the businesses that weren't paid. If you would like 30 seconds to respond to that, you have that.
They were paid. What it came down to was that office went over their spending on their budget. They sent us their bills, and actually, it should be in the minutes where we made a motion to go ahead and make sure that those people were paid for that specific reason of showing that you support your local businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Towell. We've heard about remapping the townships. We've also heard about remapping the eastern and western districts. Can you explain what any of this means and how it would affect the counties?
I'm not familiar with the township deal at all, so I can't really go into that. The eastern and western district, I understand, Commissioner Emmons was kind of laying that out a while ago. I do feel that it could be realigned slightly to make it less confusing, which I realize districts have to start somewhere and stop somewhere, but just like I can give an example, I have an acquaintance, her house is here and 300 yards down the road is her business, and her house is on one voting district and her business is in the other, but you really don't know where that line is. It's so, well, it was in the paper there a few weeks ago, and I've got a map there at the house. It's very hard. Like, say, if you want to go out and knock on doors and meet and greet people, you don't really know on certain roads if you're campaigning to the right folks or not, and a lot of times the folks don't even know. They just don't realize which district they're in. especially if they're not a consistent, regular voter. And it could be, things could be moved around to make the voting simpler, I feel, where people could realize where they were to vote, who they were to vote for. And like I say, on the townships, know nothing about that.
Mr. Nickell?
The way I understand it is rezoning the townships, or whatever you want to call it, is really to try to keep balance on population between east side and west side. Okay? Does it need a lot of changing? I don't think a township needs to be rezoned or redone somewhere that it doesn't need to be redone. I do think that after the census, there could be some small changes due to the requirements of having close to equal population on each side. Also, that may change if we do consolidation of the road districts as well. I would support a rezoning after the consolidation of the road district. That would be bad.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Oh, broke it. That's coming out of your.
Okay. I'm also don't understand the township issue. Tonight was the first time that I had heard the township rezoning. But as far as the western and eastern district, I think there's some 30 years ago or whenever it was that they started changing the districts from eastern to western to get an even match between the voters from the east side to the west side. It could be easily fixed. Instead of saying east and west, it could be District 1, District 2, District A, District B. It doesn't really matter what it's called. The map itself is very confusing. I completely agree with you. But once you get it and look at it, you kind of understand it. It's based on the demographics of where people live. If you look at Ripley County in the northwest corner, there's hardly very little population in that area. So for the eastern district, they had to steal some eastern district area to put it in the western district. It's just a map to show the zoning for equal population is all they were trying to do. It's a name issue, eastern and western. I think if somebody said I'm in District 1 and District 2, it wouldn't make a difference.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside?
Yes. Excuse me, thank you. Sorry about that. The townships, I don't know if everyone is familiar with those. Those are like, you've got Flatwoods, Ponder, those little townships from years ago. So to extinguish those, that would take quite a bit. I agree with Jack with if you just took away the name Eastern and Western, I think that throws confusion in it. Whereas if it was A, B, District 1, District 2, that relieves a lot of confusion on, well, I'm in the Western, why am I over here voting for the Western District when I'm on BP Highway? So I think that would create a lot of relieves a lot of confusion. And it was mapped out. It is confusing trying to keep track of that, but I think Jack hit it on the nail of just saying it just needs to be renamed A, B, or 1 or 2.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Would you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. We've been talking about remapping the townships and also remapping the eastern and western districts. Do you have any, excuse me, can you explain
I'm not understanding why, what would be wrong with the districts and townships that we have. I do believe in having a supervisor over the road commission where there's some accountability held in a district. You know, as Keith brought up earlier, you know, we have 19 road districts. You know, there's a lot of chiefs and not very many Indians in that scenario. So if breaking up the townships to bigger, you know, integrating all in together to make it easier for the work to get done that needs done, I'd be for that. But I don't think anybody, as far as I know, has a problem knowing what district to vote in or where they live. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Mr. Wells?
Like everybody else, I mean, yeah, the eastern and western district does confuse some people. Like when you go out on the highway and tell them, no, you're actually in the western district. No, I'm on this side of the river. No, it doesn't matter. You show them the map, you know, so we could change the name to District 1 or 2 with that. I think that would alleviate some confusion. As far as the townships, I've never heard anybody say anything about combining them or changing them.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Wells, what's the future of Ripley County look like to you?
At times, it's a scary thought. Our county is changing. We've got people moving in here from all over the country. You used to be able to set up at the store and you knew 99% of the people walked in. Now you might know 50. But I think if we work on the tourism and get a few more businesses in here, I think our whole county's going to keep going, growing, and thriving.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, if you give me 2 seconds, I'm getting another call. Mr. Jones, what does the future of Ripley County look like to you?
Well, if some things don't change, it's not a good outlook. I feel like our county has went down in a decline over the last few years. Town has, you know, as far as county-wise, there's not been a lot of new businesses move in here. You know, there's an old saying, the only people that left Ripley County with $1 million come here with 2. And I think if there ain't some support from people around here to help them put in viable businesses and apply some employment. You know, employment's a hard thing for the businesses that we have now. Competing with Pocahontas and Poplar Bluff and the bigger towns around us, it's hard for small business to start out and compete. So if there ain't some changes made to where people can come here and have a business to where it'd be viable and move forward, I don't see them moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside?
I'm actually really excited about Ripley County's future. Over the last several years, what you've seen as far as development, you've got Agro out here that's put their warehouse right here on the road. You've got Al Harper that's come in and invested in several different businesses downtown that's revamped and revived the downtown area. You actually have Jack here that's come in and they've bought several different Airbnbs and different things in the town to help develop and move things forward. To me, that's exciting. You see down here by the river where they've cleaned up. I think that is the best thing that's happened in our county in years, simply because when you drive over our bridge in the past, you just seen a beautiful river. When you drive across our bridge now, you look down and you go, wow, there's a place we could come back and take the kids down to. I would like to see some more development over in that area to create more people that want to come and visit our town, because we are a tourist community, and so if we create more tourism to come in, then you have the opportunity to where newer businesses can come in and develop and create more infrastructure and tax dollars.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I think that Ripley County has a great future. We just have to continue to do what we've been doing the last few years. We have to bring people in. We need to become a tourist town, a tourist community. I know we bring tourists in, but we're not officially, I don't think, considered a tourist town. There's some things that need to be done and completed so that we can be on the map as a tourist town, so people know where we're at and can come and visit and bring money to the community that has business. It'll stimulate the economy when we get more people here. I think you have a great future with Ripley County. It's all about getting the right people in the right place to do the right thing. And with that, it's tax dollars. We need to make sure we're getting our tax dollars from Jefferson City for everything that you go to the store, you pay your taxes, you go to a restaurant, you pay your taxes. You want to make sure all of that is getting back to this community so that it can be spent on the community to support the community. I think we've got a great future.
Thank you. Mr. Nickell?
What I see for the future is better road infrastructure for EMS buses and just the general population on the roads. You know, I would like to see a little bit more stimulation from the county, what they can do about, there's a lot of individual operated small businesses in Ripley County all over the place. Some kind of, something for them would be great. And then also bringing in businesses, you know, getting growth, you know, business growth in Ripley County is going to have to be, you know, there's a lot of buildings empty, dilapidated. We need to bring in some fresh air with the tourism and develop the county to handle the tourism that it has.
Thank you. Mr. Towell?
As far as the future of the county, we have a great tourism potential. The county and the city needs to get together and work on that. I talked to some of the local people that are river folk and all, and they continually say, why? Why is it not, you know, addressed and more done? And I can't really answer that, why, but it needs addressed. And the future of the county, Shannon down there, he said, you know, it didn't look very bright. If the drugs are not got under control in our county in the next couple of years, we're going to lose our county. It's terrible here. I see it every day. I have to deal with it every day. And I'll just say, anyone that thinks drugs aren't affecting our community, I've got 3 children back there that me and my wife adopted that were drug babies, unfortunately. And that littlest one, I don't know if any of y'all seen me have to pick him up and carry him out while ago getting punched and bit and hit. And it's due to what the meth and heroin done to him when he was in the womb. And like I say, that has got to be stopped here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your Western District Commissioner candidates.